Hey everybody, we're back. Well, let me set this wonderful cup of caffeine out of the way for a minute. The machine's powered down, pretty much calling it good for the day. But we'll recap real quick. We got everything secured. The lines that we put on our rack behind us over here, we told you we lined them up with our laser crosshair light. Basically the reason I do that and the reason we run the laser up the box lines that we put in is that unless I move my x-axis, and I'm only moving this down one axis at a time, so I know that that is straight and as true as an arrow. So if I'm coming down and all of a sudden my light from my laser starts to creep off my line and the next thing you know, well guess what, my box is not in square. I happen to luck out though. I happen to put the box in pretty good. Now we have, like I told you, we have secured this. I've got it shimmed. These are all dunnage blocks from the kindling box. Nothing fancy. I've also got some big drywall screws underneath. I got 2 on this end, 2 on this end. This isn't going anywheres, okay? We used a big 6-foot carpenter's level to make sure we were good this way. I used my 2-footer this way. Now here's the thing. I took a straight edge before I even milled this to give me an idea. I know you probably can't see it in the camera that well. Down this end, where I've been milled on each side, I'm pretty well, I'm the equivalent on each side. I'm about 3/16 of an inch, an eighth of an inch, 3/16 of an inch on each side. This side was good. Over here I'm like an eighth of an inch here, and I am like, oh God, 1/4, 5/16 up here. So I have a feeling that the cut was a little more severe over here. Plus we've got a bit of a bow or maybe a hook, if I'm using correct terminology. This end is sitting a little higher. I only put the shims under it enough just to prevent it from rocking, and then we screw it and secure it. So I don't entirely know there. It's not the end of the world though. What we'll end up doing is I'll just take my belt sander, I'll burn this down, and we'll blend all this. Or when I'm done, I can then move this out of position. I can do a box around these ends once this is moved. And by God, I can use a spoiler board bit to try to plane this down, take the bulk of it, kind of like you're hogging it out, but then you're only going to have a little bit of hand sanding left with an orbital or a belt sander or something. Okay. The other thing I cannot fail to mention here, if there's any one piece of advice I'm going to give you, this would be it right here. We know that our starting position for this piece, I told you I always program in the center of my material. Now, in the case of this piece, I told you there was a little twist and a turn the other day in the shout out. Well, I have a client who's looking for a bed. This may not get that big scene I programmed. If it does, great. If it doesn't, either way it's going to be a sold item. And I would rather focus my effort on something that is a guaranteed sale than to just mill something on this, throw it in the open market. So we may not be putting that engraving on after all. I still might, I don't know yet. But I do have an interested client who wants a bed before Christmas. I'd rather go towards something that's a potential sale than something that isn't. So what I'm going to do in the morning is I am going to retouch my top, and I'm going to skim this one more time real quick. Only after the fact that I have taken and puttied my cracks and any indiscrepancies. Now, the one piece of advice, before I get on too much of a ramble here, write down your X and Y, 0 coordinates for the start of wherever it is you decide to put your bid on the job. This, and what I mean by that is, this slab is not going to be moved again until it's engraved and it's done, period. Because if you were to pick this up, chances are you're not going to put it back in the exact same spot you had it. Okay? When you reinitialize, I came up here, I found my center. From my X0, Y0 down here, you end up moving your X-axis up, I'm sorry, your Y-axis up and your X-axis over. When you re-zero that, however, and you've heard me say this in many videos, when you re-zero to wherever on the material, it doesn't matter where, go to your CNC controller. You have a series of 3 boxes that are going to give you the dimensions as to where your router is on your table. Uncheck those boxes, because what they'll do is they'll go from green. Wherever you zero something out, it goes to green. If you unclick the green box, especially on the CNC controller, it tells you what the actual coordinates are from the reinitialized point where you originally started your machine that morning. Write those down. I know that if my machine were to crash, stop in the middle of a run, if something squirrely were to happen, I've got my starting position. And with a big scene like that, this is why I'm advising you to write these down. I could get up tomorrow morning, this machine could lose 0. I wrote it down from the night before. I'm going to reinitialize, I'm going to come up my Y, 23.725, and I'm going to come in X equals 16.804, and that's the exact starting point that I had. For not only to run the spoiler board bit, but to put the the V bits in for the engraving process. I always keep these written down someplace handy, so that I know if I were to lose references to where that was, and I've got half of the engraving done, say the machine's run 5 to 8 hours that day, am I going to be able to eyeball pretty much where I left off, or where my center? I don't take those chances. Write them down, put them someplace safe, okay? Last thing I'm going to do for tonight, I told you there's a little bit of repair work in here, nothing major. We got some cracks. We'll get to that big knot in just a second. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here for tonight, and I'm going to mud these cracks right full as I can. I don't want to have to try to mud them after they're engraved. I can assure you that doesn't work out too fun either. But this is not a water-based. I use a good oil-based filler. It seems to hold up just a little bit nicer in the engraving process. Okay? But that's what I'm going to do there. Now, we had mentioned up here that we had knots throughout this as well. Yes, I have a knot here. It's not too bad. This one up here, though, is like Old Faithful. It is still hacking up pitch a year later. However, I'm only going to maybe kiss the tail end of it. The bulk of it, where it's real nasty, is right here. I'm not even going to get into that. Okay? The other thing, too, when I started cleaning this out, I ended up going with, what was it, a raster? I ended up working from my middle out. I didn't want to start down here and do a conventional. I didn't want to get into this pitch and louse up my 1.5-inch spoiler board bit too prematurely. So I worked from the center out, so by the time it came down, I got to that pitchy spot last, all right? Well, that's about it for tonight, folks. We're going to just take and I'm going to mud this up. In the morning, I'm going to drop the bit one last time, because I think that this may swell a little bit. It can, and we are looking at a potential highly detailed engraving. So we'll drop that spoiler board bit one more time. Never forget to write your coordinates down. That's about all I can think of for this evening, folks. But again, as always, thank you for your support. Thank you for following us. And again, we'll just attach this to the blog from last Sunday. And we'll see you this coming Sunday for... I think we're going to be talking about niche holiday marketable items for Christmas and what have you, okay? All right, everyone. I'm going to get out of my sauna up here because the wood stove's driving me crazy. And we'll catch y'all later. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.